Hey yo, what up? It's Mixmaster Mike here. They call me the Serial Wax Killer, representing Copeland Entertainment, Beastie Boys, Invisible Scratch Pickles, Cypress Hill, and Metallica. I want you to check out my man Jonathan Winbush's project right now. Peep the method behind his madness and the layers upon layers upon layers of next level stuff. He's gonna blow your mind, all right? Peace.
What up, Winbush here, and today I'm excited to show you guys how I made this. Now this video comes a part of my epic partnership where I take the Unreal Engine logo and animate it in a variety of different ways. In the first video, it's called Naturalistic. I showed you guys how we take the Unreal Engine logo from Cinema 4D into Unreal Engine, and then we use mega scans of different assets from the marketplace to kind of really make this thing look like it's inside of a cave. And then the second one, called Geometric, we use simple shapes and simple colors with some wood grains to make the Unreal Engine logo come to life. Again, going from Cinema 4D into Unreal Engine. And then this third one, called Gameristic, which you just saw, is heavily inspired by games like Fall Guys and Mario Kart. So in this video, I'm going to show you guys how we can take the Pug character and we're going to rig it up in Mixamo, and then we're actually going to add our own mocap data courtesy of Rokoko. As you can see, I have the mocap suit on right now, so I'm going to do a live demonstration on how I go from this, bring it into Cinema 4D, rig everything up, and then bring that red character into Unreal Engine. And not only that, I'm going to show you guys how we could do custom camera moves in real time in Unreal Engine. If you look right here, see, I actually have an arm mount right here. I have a shoulder mount and I have an iPad hooked up to it. And what's cool is I could hook this iPad up into Unreal Engine in real time, and we could do handheld shots and get the shots. So it's kind of like a selfie 3.0, like I'm doing the mocap and I'm directing myself in the camera. I mean, there's really cool stuff coming up. And to kick everything off, I do have a special guest. So without further ado, EJ, let's get right into it.
What up, what up? It's not Winbush, it's just me. EJ, and I'm going to be showing you how you can fix your Mixamo weights. You can apply other mocap animation to it. So let's go ahead and check it out. All right, so here we have our pug model that was created by Carlos Enciso, and what we're going to do is we're going to prep this little pug character to be able to bust a move based on Winbush's motion capture. And basically, we just need to do a few steps to be able to export this model out so we can have it get rigged by Mixamo. And basically the only thing you have to do is just make sure that when you make your character, you build it symmetrically. So if you sliced it in half, it would be the same on either side. And it's also resting on the ground plane here, and that it's pretty much aligned to the center of your composition here. So you want to make sure it's kind of aligned up, maybe something like that, and the feet are right on the floor, so something like that. And the last important thing is that when you model your character, or you want to have your character be rigged by Mixamo, or just to be rigged at all, you want it in the T pose. So arms out by the sides, feet straight down, and that's basically it. That's all you need to know. It's okay that I have separate objects here that are making up this character. You can see here's the main body, but the nose, the tongue, the eyes, and the eyebrows are totally separate. Doesn't matter. Mixamo is going to auto-magically rig all this for us and make this look okay. Now, what we need to do to be able to get this out in a format that can be utilized by Mixamo is just by going to your File menu, going to Export, and we're going to export using FBX. Now, Mixamo also utilizes OBJ, but FBX has the most compatibility. So we're going to choose FBX, and this is going to pull up the FBX export settings. And there's a couple important things that you'll need to change. Number one being the file format. Now this defaults to this version 7.7, which is fairly new. For Mixamo, we're going to need to save this as an older version, version 7.3 or the 2013 version. And then one other thing I like to do is I don't like to include my subdivision surfaces. I also don't want to bake them out because I want to just rig up the low poly version and then utilize subdivision surfaces to subdivide it so the rig and the mesh will animate much faster, and we're dealing with less polygons while we're rigging, and most importantly, while we're fixing weights and weight painting. So everything else is fine here. Don't really need to bake materials because we have no materials applied. And that's another thing, is that Mixamo does not maintain any color channel or C4D materials here. If you want textures to work, they need to be image textures, okay? So you'll need to UV unwrap and all that good stuff. Bake your textures down for it to be actually translated to Mixamo and be intact throughout that whole rigging process. So typically what I'll do is I'll just wait for texturing my character after it's rigged by Mixamo and then deal with all that later. So all this is good. I'm going to click OK, and it's going to prompt me to save, and I'm going to save right there, and it's exporting our FBX. Now it's time to jump into Mixamo. All right, so here we are in Mixamo, and Mixamo is amazing. Basically what you can do is there's this whole list of characters that you can apply different type of mocap animations to, and there's just a ton of characters here, and I'll choose this one, and you can see we have this little dancy animation applied to it once this XBot loads up. There we go. And so that's the characters tab. If we go over to the animation tab, here is all of the mocap animations, and this is just one page of 52 pages of mocap animation. So a lot to choose from. So much so that there was actually a short film made entirely using Mixamo animations and blending them all together. But that's a different story. Now, we don't want to utilize this little X-Robot character. We want to apply these mocap animations here to our pug. So what we're going to do is go to upload character here, and then what it's going to ask you to do is upload your character to Mixamo. And it actually has, you know, if there's any troubleshooting you need, there's a really good article here on how to prep your model, all that kind of stuff. And you can see the file format. So we saved an FBX. So let's go ahead and let's upload that FBX. Click open, and then we're going to upload, and Mixamo is going to process the character. And here we go. There's our pug character, and it's low poly because remember we did not save this with subdivisions or bake the subdivisions, so we're seeing the unsubdivided version, low poly version of our mesh, which is fine. And this is where you just, like, if your character was orientated a different way, you'd want to fix it. You can use these different arrows and stuff like that. But this character is looking good in its T-pose. I'm going to click next. And this is where you place markers to define different parts of the body of your character. So now typically this is used with a humanoid kind of biped, but we are using this kind of very stylized character. So Mixamo is going to do its best to help auto rig this character for us. But basically we just need to click and drag and just place these markers where the different body parts would be. So the chin, even though this pug really doesn't have a chin or a neck, just kind of a big potato. And we're just going to drag and drop these markers where the wrists are. So right about there. The elbows, right about here, I guess. And then the knees, right about there. And this is basically where those bending points will be. And then the groinal region right about there. Make sure that they snap to the center, especially the chin and the groin. You want to be able to snap. It's using symmetry. We modeled our character symmetrically, so that's good. As far as this skeleton LOD, this is the level of detail of the hands. Okay, so right now the standard skeleton, it's like you have 5 fingers. But if you click on this, you can choose a 3-chain finger, which I like to call the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle fingers. You just got 3 fingers. So we have 2 chain fingers, which is basically like an oven mitt, and then no fingers, which is just a club for a hand, which is basically what we have for our character here. He's just got nubs, no fingers, so this no fingers is gonna be perfect. So once we have all this set up, all the markers are placed, we can just click next, and this is where the auto rigger algorithm is going to take over and kind of do its thing. All the hamsters and the hamster wheels behind the scenes are gonna start running really fast, and this can take up to 2 minutes. So this is the part where you ask everyone how their day's going. You go get your coffee, talk by the water cooler, all that good stuff. And here we go. The algorithm did its thing, and it's looking okay. Now, remember that Mixamo is really good with humanoid bipeds, and it does a pretty good job with stylized characters like this, okay? Now, you can see there's a little jankiness happening with the waist here, but this looks like, as far as the arms and the legs go, I mean, they're still kind of messed up. Nothing's dramatically off. Like the neck is turning where it should realistically turn, so that's fine. The waist is kind of twisting the way it should twist. The arms are kind of bending the way they should bend, and the legs are kind of bending okay as well. Now, again, if you weren't happy with this, you could always go back and reposition some of those markers, like maybe move the chin up or down if it wasn't exactly where you want the neck twist to be, but I'd say this is looking pretty good. I'm going to go and click next, and what this is going to do is load up our character here in our view, and we can go and let's zoom in here. And now what we can do, and this is where the real fun happens, is where we can start applying some of these dance moves and all of these different mocap animations to our pug. And you could spend easily half a day by just searching for dance, and you'll knock yourself out. But basically what I want to do, the main goal here is to have a good animation here, like maybe this Roomba. And what this is going to allow me to do is I can tell that because of this mocap animation that I'm going to need to clean some things up as far as the weighting to smooth all this out, because the auto rigging, the auto weighting, it got me part of the way there, but I'm going to need to clean this up a bit. And basically I just want to export out an animation that will give me a good like guiding star for like, did I fix this rig? Did I clean up the jankiness on the hips and the neck there? So that's it. Now, as far as like the if the arms were intersecting with the torso, as it is kind of intersecting right here, we can fix that by adjusting this character arm space, and this is basically going to have the arms pull away a little bit more from the body, so it's going to like spread out the arms, like the wingspan a little bit, and it's going to help try to prevent these arms from intersecting with the torso. So you can see if this is way down, we're going to get a lot of intersecting there. Not good. So let's just crank that all the way to 100, and I think that's looking pretty good. Minimal intersections, if any at all. You can also adjust the enthusiasm. Like, how enthusiastic is this pug? I would say he's pretty enthused. The overdrive is basically just how fast, how much caffeine did this pug accidentally drink, because I don't think dogs are supposed to have that. And then the total amount of frames here. So this is fine. Again, we just need this animation as a guiding star to make to kind of see if our weighting is working or not. So I'm going to say this is fine, and then I'm just going to go and download this rig with this mocap animation by clicking download, and all of these settings that are default are fine. Let's go and download, and then it's just going to download to your download folder basically, and I'll just hop back into Cinema 4D. And then I'll go and open up that downloaded project here. So Roomba Dancing right there. And then when I import this, pretty much you don't have to change anything here. Just make sure that your animation tracks are on, and I'll click OK. And here is our character here. Now, the one thing I want to do is what Mixamo does is it imports or opens your FBX file with this Mixamo animation as a take. I don't like to have this as a take, because what will happen is that if you want to adjust anything on your character, you'll see that everything is grayed out. So if you ever wanted to edit anything, that's because this is in a locked take, and you'd have to like unlock and override all this stuff. So to prevent that, what you can do is select this Mixamo take, which holds all the animation, the Mixamo animation, and go to File, Current Take to New Document, and this will then open up this file with this Mixamo animation as the main take, and you can see that everything is unlocked. I can adjust all these things, and here is our nice mocap animation applied to our pug here, and this is where we need to do a little bit of weight management here. And no, not the weight management of like counting calories, but adjusting weights. So if we go to our pug body here, and here is the weight tag. And the weight tag is very important because what it does is it holds the influence of each joint in which vertices is assigned to what joint, and is then in turn deformed by this skin deformer. So if we want to see that influence visually, because it's kind of abstract, we can go ahead and open up the weights manager, and you can do that by holding the shift key down and double clicking on that weight tag. And now you can visually see with colors which joint is influencing which vertices. And if I go over to the joints tab and select, say, like the hips joint, you can see that this is assigned this orange color. So you can see that represented on our mesh. And if I hover over, you can see, okay, these vertices are 100% influenced by this hip joints. And if I zoom in here and go to like here, okay, that's 100%. But then if I go to this vertice, we immediately transition from hips to zero hip influence at all, and all left shoulder and spine joint. And because of that drastic transition from one joint to the next, and it's not a smooth transition, that's why we're getting this kind of weird janky distortion. So what you want to do, and if I select this weight tag here to bring up all the weights again and select all the joints, you can see that we have very bad kind of smooth transitions between each joint influence to the next, and that's what's causing this distortion. So what we want to do is smooth out these influences overall. You can see that even the neck is pinching, and one easy way to do this is by selecting all the weights by selecting this weight tag and then going into the commands tab, and what we can do is edit or modify the joint weights, and what we want to do is smooth them out. So what I'm going to do is go to my mode and change this to smooth. And then what I'm going to do is click this apply all button, and you can see immediately we just smoothed out. It's almost like we applied a Gaussian blur to the weight influence colors here, and we just smoothed out the influence, and we kind of got rid of that weird fold. Same thing with the neck, same thing with the legs. Now we can hit this apply all multiple times, so I can hit this again and again and again. And you can see that we're really fixing this pretty nicely. Now I would say that maybe the neck, if I kind of scrub here, maybe I could smooth out the neck even more, because you can see that's still pinching. So if I'm happy with the smoothness of all the weights everywhere else, but I'm just kind of concerned with the neck and like the shoulder areas, what I can do is select those individual joint influences that I want to blend or smooth. So like the neck, the head, the left shoulder, and I'm just holding the command or control key down to add to my selection. Let's get the right shoulder in there, and I think that should be all the weights that would be influencing this area of our mesh. And so with those joints selected, I'll go to commands and I'll hit apply all, and what this is going to do is only smooth out those joint influences. So I can really go to town on the smoothing and smooth that out pretty nicely. And now you can see we have this nice smoothing, and we can even go in, and we don't actually even have our subdivision surfaces on here. So what I can do is twirl down all of the different pieces and parts of the geometry that we have here. So the torus, the sphere, those are fine. Those are pretty subdivided nicely. But the pupil and the eyebrow, and then the tongue, the nose, and the pug body, we can reapply those subdivision surfaces to. So I'm going to go up to my generator menu, and with the Alt or Option key held down, I'm going to choose the subdivision surface, and with the Alt or Option key held down, that's going to automatically make the subdivision surface a parent of those selected objects. And now you can see we have this nice kind of smoothing going on, and that's looking good. Now I could probably fix the arms here. They're not looking too great. Maybe we can go into this pug body again, hold the shift key and double click, and let's go ahead and go to the joints here and maybe check out the left arm, left hand, and left shoulder. And what you're going to notice is you're not going to be able to see those joint influences, and that's because the subdivision surface is on. If I turn that off by checking that off, you can see that now we can see it again. So need to make sure you have your subdivision surface off, and maybe we just want to blur between the left arm and the left forearm and the left hand. So I'm just going to have these selected. Maybe I'll do it on the other side too. So get the right hand, right forearm, right arm, and then go to commands and smooth this out a little bit. And now you can see this is looking a little bit better not great. So you don't want to smooth things too much because then you'll like not get great bending. So I'm going to undo that smoothing. And what I'm going to do instead is turn off the skin deformer. And if I want to fine tune and define like on a pretty exact level which joint is influencing which part of our geometry here, I can do that. Okay, so if I go to, and let's just make sure our subdivision surface is off. If I go to my left arm here, or actually left forearm, which is this joint right here, I just want these joints from like this point up to be influenced by that joint. So I'm going to grab my polygon selection tool, hit the 0 key to get my rectangular selection, and select these polygons. And with that left forearm selected, I can say, you know what? Let's add that joint influence to that joint. So I'm going to go apply selected. So I only want to apply the influence of this joint to the selected polygons here. Then I can go back into joints, go to this left arm, which is like the upper arm, and I can go maybe select these polygons here, and I can even like maybe add 50%. So add 50% influence to that. And then let's see, the left shoulder kind of takes over from there. And now we can see if we turn on the skin deformer again, if we kind of clean that up and made a nicer transition. We definitely didn't. So let's go and just, maybe we'll smooth out those influences of the left arm and the left forearm. Go to commands, change this to smooth, and apply all. And we'll kind of see if that fixes it. So we have a sharper bend, which I think looks a lot better than where it was. And again, we could, you know, go in there and fine tune this and assign individual weights to individual polygons or vertices there. But if I wanted to mirror the changes I made here to the right side here, what I can do is make sure I have the weight tag selected here, select the left arm and the left forearm and left hand, and then go up to the character menu, go to mirror tool. And what I also need to do is make sure I have the mesh selected. So I'll hold the command and control key down to add that to the selection. Let's go back up to that character menu, get the mirror tool. And now let's select the left forearm, left hand, left arm. And now with that mesh selected, I can choose mirror weights. And you'll see that will change and update on the right side. And so now we'll have a nicer bend on that side as well. Let's turn back on the subdivision surface, and this is looking pretty good. Now, this mesh, this movement, this mocap is basically just to check to make sure if the deformations, while this mesh is moving, while these joints are moving, are going to look good once Winbush applies his mocap to it. So this motion is purely for reference and smoothing out the weights. And really, we could probably do better smoothing out the influences here, but I've shown you how to do that. Definitely weight painting takes patience and a lot of tweaking. But if we say this is pretty close, basically what Winbush needs now to be able to use Rokoko and apply the mocap to it is we need to get back to our T-pose, okay? So what I'm going to do is select all of my weight tags here on all of my objects and go to Reset Bind Pose. And then what I'm going to do is go up to my window, go to the timeline here, and I'm going to turn off all these tracks, these animation tracks, and on the joints here, the joints are the only thing with animation. I'm just going to go back into my timeline again and just delete all these keyframes because we don't need them anymore, okay? So I'm just going to select them all, delete, and now we have our T-pose with all of the weights intact here. And then basically I can send this over to Winbush and he can do his thing.
Thank you for that, EJ. Always a pleasure working with you. In this next step, I'm going to jump into Rokoko Studio. We're going to do some custom mocap, export this out, and then bring it into Cinema 4D where we can rig it up on that character that EJ just sent us. So this is Rokoko Studios, just as a quick overview. Right here where it says actor profiles, like you can have several different actors in here. I have a Winbush one here already. And as you can see in here, all you have to do is go through these different measurements here, put in your different measurements. It has a roller right next to the character so you can see what you need to measure. And once you're ready with that, you just hit save body profile, but I already have mine made up. And then from here, I'm just going to open up a new project. I'm just going to name this one tutorial. Click over like that. And then this is Rokoko Studios. I don't have my avatar in here because I have to hook up my battery pack, which is all USB charged. You can use like any third party. I got this one from Best Buy, but let me hook this into my suit right here. All right, cool. Once everything is powered up, you saw my avatar pop into the screen and you can see I'm moving and everything, but it's not exactly calibrated. And so I have to tell it that we have to use the Winbush profile. So right here where it says add objects, I'm going to click on this blue W for Winbush. And then right here where it says S49, this is actually the smart suit. So I'm going to click and drag this under Winbush and this should turn my avatar blue like so. And now you can see it's starting to get a little bit better, but we have to make one more step to calibrate this correctly. So right here where it says perform straight pose, I'm going to click on this and then I'm going to go into a straight pose. It's going to do a 3 count and then it's going to have everything calibrated. So let me click this here. And there we go. Everything is wireless, so it's just running through my Wi-Fi router. Everything is 1-to-1. If I look down here in the lower right hand corner, this is all the different sensors that are in the body. So if it's green, that means it's perfect. If it's yellow, there's a little bit of interference, but I found that my studio setup in here is work perfectly with this. And so the next step from here, I just want to kind of move around, make sure everything is locked in. So I have my head movement. You can see here I have my strap underneath my main gear hat here, and I have everything going accordingly so I can lift my feet up. Everything's good to go. And so from here, I'm just going to do a quick mocap and then we're going to export this out and bring it into Cinema 4D. So if I look down here in the bottom, I just have to click right here where it says start. And right now it's recording. So I'm just going to move back and I'm just going to do a little dance for the pug there. Wish I had some music, but There we go. So that should be good enough. So if I come over here to my left side where it says take, if I double click on this, I can check to make sure that my take took well, which I'm pretty sure that it would. See, you can see me talking there. And there we go. You can see my little pug dance there, get my groove on. So right here in the lower right hand corner where it says export, I'm going to click on this and you can see that we have a whole plethora of different options here. But the coolest one that I think we have is right here where it says skeleton. We can actually export a Mixamo skeleton, which is Cinema 4D artists. I know a lot of us out there are using Mixamo, so I think this is perfect for our needs. So right here where it says mimic file hierarchy, we're going to leave that clicked on because our naming conventions will be the same for our Mixamo skeleton that EJ sent over to us. And then from here, I'm just probably going to export this out to my desktop. So I'm going to click OK and then just click export here. And there we go. The next step from here is to bring it into Cinema 4D and to rig it up to our character. So right here we have Cinema 4D open. This is the pug character that EJ sent over to us. Everything is weighted. We have the Mixamo skeleton here that he weighted everything to right here. So the next step from here is I want to bring in that mocap data from Rokoko Studios. So I'm going to come up to File, Merge Object, and then I'm going to go to my desktop, look for where I saved it out at right here. Mixamo take 1, click open. I'm just going to leave everything at default here and just click OK. And now we have our Mixamo skeleton and it brought in the mesh. So if I hide these right here, so I'm going to select all of these, hold down the left Alt key and then just double click and drag down to just hide these for a minute here. So this is the mocap data that we brought in from Rokoko. So I'm going to drag this out in the timeline. Then I'm going to hit Control D because I like working at 60 frames per second. There we go. So if I click play here, you can see that we have our mesh brought in from Rokoko Studio and the Mixamo skeleton. If I look over here at my file structure, you can see right here, we have Mixamo hips, and then this is the one from the pug. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to connect this right here that's connected to the pug to our mocap right there. So let me click play right here to stop it. I'm going to go back and I'm actually going to delete this mesh because all I need is the skeleton. Then if I hold down the left Alt on my keyboard, click and drag down. There we go. So now we have our pug character in here. And as you can see, the pug is way larger than the skeleton that we brought in from Rokoko, but that's fine because all we really need to do is connect the joints. And so the skeleton size doesn't really matter that much. And so to do that, actually, I'm going to select all of these first, and I'm going to put these into a group. So I'm going to select object, group objects, and then I'm just going to name this one pug. And then I'm going to come down to here, and I don't want to get these mixed up. So I'm just going to double click on this. and I'm going to name this one Pug Mixamo, and that's just so I have a difference between the two skeletons. And then from here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on tags, and then I'm going to come down to rigging tags, and right here where it says constraint, I want to click on this. And so this is going to be how we connect this skeleton into our mocap skeleton. So what I'm going to do right here while I have this selected still is come over to PSR, click this, and then I'm going to click the PSR tab here in the attributes window, click on offset, and I want to make sure that I have maintain original. I'm going to click this on, and that should be everything that we need there. So what I'm actually going to do from here is I'm going to click back on my pug skeleton. I'm going to come down to view, and then where it says folding, I'm going to unfold selected, is so that it just unfolds everything in here. And the reason I'm doing that is because I have to manually take each one of these constraints and connect it to each one of these joints. And so what I'm going to do from here is I'm just going to hold down the left control on my keyboard, just click and drag it to each one of these joints here. And so this gets kind of repetitive, so I'm just going to show you guys how we could get the first couple of done. And then I have a pug that's actually already all linked up, but I just want to show you guys the process so you know exactly how you do this. And so now I have a constraint connected to each joint. So from here, it's just as easy as kind of connecting this to the correlating mocap joint. So right here where it says hips, I'm just going to select this hips and drag it right here to target. And if I click play, let me scrub through this a little bit, you can see it's actually moving our pug. So you can see exactly what it's doing. So we just have to connect the rest of these joints here. So I'm going to bring this out right here. So I'm just going to click the plus button up here. And then we're going to go through the spine here. So I'm going to click this one, click and drag the spine over, select that down. And then right here where it says spine 1, just going to click and drag this over. So remember inside of Rokoko Studio, whenever we said we wanted to have the same file hierarchy, this is exactly why, because it's easy. We don't have to do any guessing. We know like the neck goes with the neck. We know that the head goes to the head, etc., etc. So I don't want to bore you guys going through each one of these joints. I actually do have one that's all rigged up and everything and ready to go. So let me show you that one and what the final outcome is going to look like. So this is the final pug from the animation that we have. We have our Rokoko mocap data here. If I click and drag these out, you can see that each one of these joints are connected to one of the joints from our mocap. And then if I just click play on here, I'm just scrubbing through just so you can see it. So our pug character is dancing with our mocap data. And then if I come over here, actually let me pause this. I'm just going to hide this. So like I was saying, the scale of the skeleton doesn't really matter. It's all about just connecting the joints there. And so it looks like we have a pretty good rig here. And so the next step from here is we want to take this data into Unreal Engine. But first, let me make a stage just so we have something that the pug could be dancing on. So he's just not dancing in the air. So I'm just going to make a quick stage real quick. So I'm going to make a cube. Maybe just drag this out like so. And bring this right below his feet there. Somewhere around there. There we go. That should be good. And I'm just going to drag it out a little bit. Then maybe let's do a fillet here just so we have some rounding edges. So something like that. So something like that should be cool. And then I could just click and drag this. Actually, let me just make a new material, because whenever we bring stuff into Unreal Engine, we want to make sure that we're just using simple materials from Cinema 4D. So I'm going to bring in my reflectance as well. I'm going to remove the default specular, add a GGX. And then I'm just going to bring this down to like 1% just to add a little bit of gloss in there. But Unreal Engine for right now, it's only going to take the default Cinema 4D materials. So no third parties or anything like that. But there we go. So we have a nice platform for him to dance on and everything. And so from here, I want to make sure that I have my group here selected, because I just want to export everything that's selected in this group. So I can actually hit this right here and it's going to select everything in there. And then I'm going to come over to File, come down to Export, come down to FBX. And then I want to make sure that I'm using the latest version, so 7.5, which is 2016. And I want to make sure that I have selection only selected, because I want to make sure that I'm only exporting my pug out as an FBX. And then for my platform, I can export that out on its own as a Cineware file. But for now, I want to leave everything else as it is here. Then I'm going to click OK. Then I'm going to find a folder. There we go, FBX, that I want to save it to. I'm going to leave the naming convention as it is. Click Save. And there we go. We actually have our pug saved out as an FBX. And now I want to save out my platform, which I'm actually just going to delete all this stuff right here. And that's because I just want to export this out as Cineware. So if you go to my YouTube channel, or if you see my course, you know exactly what I'm going to do next. But if you don't, what I'm going to do is I'm going to save this platform out in a form that Unreal Engine can recognize. So if I come over to File, come down here to where it says Save Project for Cineware, I'm going to click on this, and then I'm just going to find somewhere that I can save it. So I'm actually going to make a new folder, just name this Cineware, double click on this, and then I'll just name this one Platform underscore UE4, so that I know that this file is going to be going to Unreal Engine. Then I'm going to click Save. So now that we have everything saved out, the next step from here is to finally get into Unreal Engine, where we're going to bring everything together. So I have the Epic Scam Launcher open right here, and from here I'm going to come over to Library, and then I'm going to use version 4.25.4. I'm going to click Launch here, and then from here we have the Unreal Project Browser. I'm just going to come down to Film, Television, and Live Events, click Next. And then I'm going to start off with a blank slate, so I'm going to click Next again. And then down here where it says under My Projects, I'm just going to name this one Pug. And then I'm going to enable ray tracing because I do have a card that can handle it. And then I'm just going to click Create Project. And then from here, we're going to get into Unreal Engine. I'm going to show you how we can import everything. All right, so we have Unreal Engine opened up now. As you can see right now, I don't have the Datasmith plugin here at the top. So I'm going to show you guys how to enable that so that we can import our Cinema 4D files. So if I come over here to Settings, come down to Plugins. Then if I come down here where it says Built-in, we're going to click on this, and under Search, just type in C4D. And then right here, I'm going to click Enable, and it's going to make us restart our project, which is fine. I'm just going to click Yes, click Restart Now, and this should just take a few moments to restart here. So now that we have Unreal restarted, the next step from here is to come up to where it says Datasmith. I'm going to click on this, and then I'm going to look for where I imported that stuff at. So let me find my platform. So it was under Cineware folder, platform underscore UE4. I'm going to click Open. Then I'm going to click on the content folder, click OK. And then I'm just going to import everything. Just leave it at default, click import. And there we go. Now we have a platform in here, which I could take this platform that's default from Unreal. I'm just going to delete this one. And now we have our platform in here from Cinema 4D. If you look up in the top left right now, it says lighting needs to be rebuilt, but we could use all dynamic lighting. So everything's going to be in real time. So if I click on my light source here, then click on the details panel, right here where it says stationary, static, and movable. If I click on movable, now our light's going to be dynamic, and we don't have it in the upper corner, so we don't have to do any bake or anything of that nature. So down here in my content browser, I'm going to click on content, and then I'm going to right click, and I'm just going to make a new folder, and I'm just going to name this one Pug. And this is where I'm going to import the FBX file that we saved out of Cinema 4D that was rigged with the mocap data. So I'm going to double click on this, click on import, and then I'm just going to find that FBX file, which is right here. So I have my rigged Pug right here. I'm going to click open. And then down here, I have a few settings that I just want to click on. So where it says animation, import animation, I want to click this one right here. And then where it says animation length, I'm just going to leave it at exported time. And then I'm just going to leave everything else at default here. And I'm going to click import all. And now it looks like our Pug's imported. I'm going to close out the message log. Now, if I look down here where it's like underscored purple, if I click and drag this Pug into my scene and just drag them up on the platform a little bit, let me swing around here. If I come in a little bit, we can see that we have our Pug here, and he should be rigged up. And so in order to see him dancing and everything, we have to make a sequencer, which is a timeline in Unreal. So it's real easy to do. If I come up to cinematics, click on this, click add level sequence, and it's going to ask us to name it, but I'm just going to leave it at default under new level sequence. Click save, and you can see right here, now we have a timeline editor in which all I have to do is click on my Pug, and then over here on the right where it's the world outliner, I'm just going to click and drag him into the scene. And then right here where it says animation, I'm just going to click on this, and you'll see that we have our animation sequence already there ready to go. So if I click on this, you can see our Pug kind of went to the side there. So I'm just going to scroll through my bar here a little bit. I'm going to click on my Pug, come down to my details, and where it says transform, I'm just going to rotate it on the x-axis by 90 degrees. Now if I scroll through here, we should have our Pug plane in here. And if I click on this and I click G, that would take away all the different icons and everything in there. And I could drag him up a little bit. But if I click play down here, now we can see that we have our Pug dancing in the scene. And I'm going to just drag it over a little bit because that looks like that was the intro to animation. So I can actually just come down here to the sequencer and just drag it to a point where I like it. So somewhere around there. And then down here where it says no looping, I'm just going to click loop, click back to the start, click play. And there we go. We have our dancing pug in Unreal Engine. So we have our cool dancing pug and everything in Unreal Engine. So the next step from here is we want to do some camera moves, which is really cool. I could hook up the iPad to Unreal Engine and actually do some handheld camera shots. And if you do want the step-by-step how to hook up your iOS to Unreal Engine and be able to do this next step, make sure you go to my YouTube channel, youtube.com/Jonathan Winbush, where I give you the step-by-step how you hook it up to your router and the IP address and be able to connect it. But in this video, I want to show you guys, once we have everything connected, how we can use it to make some slick handheld camera moves. And so if I come down here into where it says World Settings, I just want to come down here to where it says Game Mode Override. And then I want to click on virtual camera mode. And this is after you already have everything set up. So I have my iPad already connected to my Wi-Fi router to allow me to do this. And from there, all you have to do is go to the App Store. And we actually have an app from Unreal called U Remote. So I'm going to select it on my iPad now. And then I'm going to click the connect button. And let me put this up on my shoulder mount. But before I do that, right here where it says play, I'm going to click the down play button. And then I'm going to come right here where it says new editor window, click on this, and this should connect everything to my iPad. And so I'm going to step back so that I can see my pug in my view. But if I look on here, and actually you can see it in the window down here as well. If I select this, it should correlate in real time. And so I actually have a controller up on my screen, which I can control with my iPad. So let me hook this up on my shoulder. And what I'm doing is I'm actually moving back right now, somewhere around there. So I'm using a joystick on my iPad to move back. And then I didn't put in a camera, but you can also set up like a start camera. But let's say I want to shoot this pug from the side. So you can see right here, if you look on my computer in the lower left-hand corner, there's a red button. And if I click on that on the iPad, it actually gives us a recorder. So now once it hits the one mark, I could just actually move my camera around. I could kind of take my joystick, move it in a little bit if I want to dolly in, and it gives us a whole bunch of leverage. So say that we want to start in the sky like I do in my demo and then come down, point at the pug. It's recording all those movements. And then if I click back on there, now it's going to give us a take within our system here. So let me put this down and let me click stop. There we go. So if I come back to my content browser, if I come to content, you can see that it actually made a folder here called cinematics. So if I double click on this, we have a takes folder. And if I double click on there, right here, it made a sequencer for us. And if I click on this camera here to lock it into place, and then if I click play, you can see now we have our camera move all in Unreal. And so now the next step from here is just kind of connecting the two together, which is easy in itself. So I'm going to come over here where it says Cinema Camera Actor. I'm going to right click and just click copy. And then I'm going to find my sequence that I made before. Remember the one with the dancing pug in it. So I'm going to double click on this. Then I'm just going to right click and paste the camera in here. And then you see we have a button here for plus sequence. I'm going to click on this. And then I'm just going to find the one or scene 101. I'm going to click on this right here. And then you can see it's still not dancing. And that's because we need to add a camera cuts. So if I click on track right here, click on camera cut track, then I'm going to select camera, and I'm going to select the camera that is our sequence there. So I'm going to click Cinema Camera Actor. And I'm just going to drag this over. So now we should have our camera locked in. And there we go. So hopefully this demo gave you an overview of how I created my project for the Unreal Engine logo animation. I used Mixamo, Rokoko Studio, Cinema 4D, and of course Unreal Engine. And then I brought it all to life with handheld camera moves on my iPad. So hopefully this is something that's really cool that sparks your interest and gets you guys exploring as well. And I also want to give a big shout out to EJ. Thank you for allowing me to use your pug model and giving us a demonstration on how you could properly weight it with the Mixamo skeleton. And I also want to give a shout out to to Rokoko because this mocap suit is dope. If you guys want a discount on it, make sure you hit me up. They gave me some codes that I could give away to you guys if you're really interested. And I also want to give a big shout out to Maxon and Unreal Engine. Without you guys, none of this stuff would have been possible. So thank you guys again, and make sure you go to my YouTube channel, youtube.com/JonathanWinbush. Make sure you click that subscribe button, and I'll catch you in the next video. Take care.